on? Yeah, well, yesterday I was in a tent right now. We went camping, and we went to a place called Cape Disappointment, which is where, like, everybody died. You know, they tried to get their ships in, and they crashed and burned on the rocks. It's southern tip of Washington State, just over the bridge in Astoria from Oregon. But, you know, we had a good time camping and everything like that. And, you know, everything that goes into camping, you got to cook, build a fire, you know, that kind of thing. And then we got back in the car, and we had to drive back to Cannon Beach here today. And, you know, I sat down, and because we were camping, my plan was to watch SmackDown yesterday in the tent while the children were sleeping with my AirPods, or my earbuds or whatever. Well, we had no service whatsoever. And so we drove back today, and at about 3:30 Pacific, I sat down to watch SmackDown. And I watched all of SmackDown. And when I was done watching SmackDown, SummerSlam began. And so I'd already watched 2 hours of WWE. And SummerSlam, I figured, would be, you know, maybe a 3.5-hour show or whatever. And, you know, I was enjoying things. Everything was going along just fine. And then, you know, it was time for that main event. And it was after the 3-hour mark by quite a while. And then there was a bunch of video packages, and there was product placement. And finally, they begin the entrances, and, you know, we're 3.5 hours in the show, and old Roman Reigns took over 5 full minutes to do his ring entrance. And then we did, in fact, get your Roman Reigns main event. Now, Roman Reigns has gone 35 minutes or so with Sami Zayn in Montreal. He went, I don't even know how long it was at WrestleMania. You know, they went another 30 minutes or so for the Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And, you know, they've all worked out. You know, they're a little bit slow in the beginning, but then, you know, things get going, and it turns into a, you know, as the kids like to say, cinema. And I'm watching this match, and I ain't seeing no cinema. And I'm watching, and I'm waiting, and I'm watching, and waiting, and nobody believes that Jay Uso has any chance whatsoever of winning. They work the match like they work the match with everybody else. And it just goes on and on and on. It's 25 minutes before Solo Sikoa decides he's going to do a run-in. We have another 7 minutes or so before a mystery man pulls Jay Uso out of the ring. This person finally unmasks. It's Jimmy Uso, who then stands there looking at his brother for a full minute. And then finally Jay is thrown into the ring. He is speared through a table, and he is pinned. This was excruciatingly long. I am a big fan of the Bloodline storyline. The fans have been big fans of the Bloodline storyline. It's the hottest thing in the company. But you know what? Sometimes it is a swing and a miss. And this main event was a swing and a miss. It went way too long. They worked this like they shouldn't have. You know, beating on Jey Uso for 20 straight minutes when the fans didn't believe the guy could win. And man, I just was dying when this was over. I was just fucking dying. And now, by the way, I got to do this show. And then I got to watch 2 hours of Collision. And then I have to do a show with Dave. So let's not make this as long as SummerSlam, Vinny. And let's go through here.
Jesus Christ.
From the beginning.
Yeah, SummerSlam was effing long. That's the official thing. Where did my notes go? I had them right here, and now they're not showing up. There they are. We watched WWE SummerSlam Saturday, August 5th, 2023. God damn, I wrote a lot about the show because so much happened.
Are you sure it was August 5th? I think it started August 4th.
It may have been 2021 when it started. The building looked awesome. Ford Field in Detroit, a big-ass football stadium, and even though it's indoors, it's got the light coming in. It looked great for the start of the show. We open with Optimus Ricochet versus Logan Paul, who may have been dressed as Bumblebee as far as I can tell. They had a super fun match. It was every bit as athletic as you would think, and Logan is the best heel in the world, doing a chin lock and Hulk Hogan tribute spots, which is apparently called the Hogan Paul. I laughed at this. We had Scott Hall tributes. We had Macho Man tributes throughout. We had a gigantic springboard splash by Logan Paul, who jumped about 14 feet in the air. Like he was jumping off a cage, it looked like. And they're trading big moves. Ricochet misses a 630 senton. Some fella passes Logan Paul brass knucks. And Logan hits a brass knucks punch and wins. And I am fine with that, because it means we get a rematch, and this was tons of fun. Great opener here for SummerSlam.
Yeah, the story of this match was they wanted to have the most viral match in WWE history, and I don't think they did, but in order to try to accomplish that feat, really it was just like one big crazy spot after another. And I would say that they pulled off about 95% of them. There were a couple that were not perfect, but, in general, it was like all sorts of great stuff. There was Logan Paul has stolen the buckshot lariat, which is Hangman Page's move, and he's done it in several matches. But in this match, he actually did the buckshot lariat from the inside of the ring to the outside, and I don't think I've ever seen Hangman Page do that. So he actually stole the dude's move and one-upped him with the buckshot from the inside to the outside. And we had a neck breaker off the top. We had the shooting star, Spanish fly on the floor, which actually looked like it pretty much almost killed both guys. And
it was actually it was even better than that, because it was Spanish fly off the apron, but both guys landed on their feet. So they did some stuff, and then did the Spanish fly on the floor. And as you noted, it was very difficult to tell who was getting hit with what, but goddamn, it looked cool.
Yes, and then finally there at the end, I mean, it was just like one big move after another. It was like a video game match, just big move, big move, big move, big move. You know what it was like, Vinny?
Tell me, Brian.
It was like me and you in WrestleQuest.
Oh, hey, yes.
Yes.
Spectacular and wildly fun and entertaining.
Yes, for those of you that don't know, Vinny, Dave, and I are all playable characters in the new WrestleQuest video game. And information on how to grab it is on my Twitter right now, at Brian Alvarez. You can go up there and check it out. And buy the game, support F4WOnline.com, yes. And play as, Vinny or Dave or I. And you could have just as crazy a match, I believe, as Logan Paul and Ricochet did here.
What a great time you'll have.
Hopefully with a better finish, by the way, because they do all of this crazy stuff.
Yes.
And then some rando just hands Logan Paul brass knucks. And it's like, who is this guy? And Michael Cole says, and I quote, this is a direct quote, "He's one of Logan Paul's guys." That's what he said.
Well, he is.
And so, he gives Logan the brass knucks. Logan punches out Ricochet with the brass knucks, which actually, when you think about what they both agreed to do and, what Logan Paul claimed this was going to be, and then at the end, he just hits guy with knucks and pins him. It's actually a great heel finish. But, I was ready to just start screaming at Michael Cole for, he's one of Logan Paul's guys. But then they do this finish, and Michael Cole says, and I quote, "That was a great match, but the ending sucked."
Yes, this is the key. This is the key. They're well aware this was a shit finish. They said, we're going to do a shit finish. Let's do the shittiest one we can do.
They did a very, very shitty finish, and that was it. So I thought the match was great. I mean, wasn't like a Steamboat Flair, psychological masterpiece. But I mean, they did a lot of callbacks, and as Vinny noted, they did a lot of different tribute spots and that sort of thing. And they had fun, and the crowd went crazy, and it was exciting. And I thought it was a great opener.
And we had Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Very strange video for this played. It was very long. There's a lot of melodramatic speeches by Cody and some sad music playing, which is strange for a fight. And then Brock comes out, and he's Brock. And then Cody comes out, and he comes out, and he comes out. I'll be honest, when Roman was doing his entrance, I was out of the room because I knew I had like 15 minutes to kill. But I would be surprised if the actual time that Roman took to get to the ring was any longer than Cody's. His song almost played all the way through. He's high-fiving every single fan in Detroit. Not just those in the building. Those outside of the greater Detroit area, as far away as Ann Arbor, perhaps. Now, it turns out there was a point to this. This was not just a long entrance. This was foreshadowing. Because the story of the match was, once Brock got the advantage, he threw Cody back outside, and Cody could not get in the ring. for like 5 minutes or more. Is this Cody trying to get inside and getting knocked out? Cody trying to get inside, getting knocked out, getting F5'd on the floor. Cody trying to get inside, getting knocked out, getting F5'd on the announce desk. That's all the match was for the first half of this. So they tore off the turnbuckle pad just like they did in the earlier match, which the announcers completely missed. And Cody's making his comeback. He's able to use the post and the steps and the floor to get an advantage. He gets a double jump Cody cutter off the top rope for 2. He tries crossroads, but Brock turns it into the Thea Hale tribute Kimura lock. And Cody gets the ropes. He shoves Brock's shoulder into the exposed turnbuckle, gets his own Kimura. Brock powers out of that and tries an F5, but Cody hits 3 straight crossroads. Finally gets the win. And he got that win earlier. He was in the Kimura lock and stacked Brock up and got the pin and ran for his life. This was not that. He hit this guy with his finisher 3 times, got the pin, was the dominant victor. So dominant, in fact, that the beast, Brock Lesnar, turned into the beauty. He shook Cody's hand, gave him a big hug, raised his hand, and left with his head held high. This was tremendous. Really enjoyed that.
I thought this match was awesome. I flat out thought this match was awesome because Cody was a fantastic babyface in peril. He just took a fucking beating in this match. Brock was like the greatest Brock Lesnar. I mean, sometimes like he's a good Brock Lesnar, sometimes he's a great Brock Lesnar. This was up there with the greatest Brock Lesnar. Just an absolutely, and by the way, this guy's 46 years old.
Yes.
He was an absolutely unstoppable horror film monster, just killing this guy. And he killed him, and Cody would be outside, and he'd get back in, and Brock would fucking murder him again, and Cody would in outside, and Brock is like, dude, just stay out. You're gonna die, just don't come back in. And Cody would get back in, and he would beat the shit out of him, and Cody would go outside again. And then Cody finally gets in one more time after like the F5 through the announce table, and man, Brock just fucking unleashes this roar. This monstrous roar, because now this guy, I gave you a chance, brother. Now you got to die. And Cody, of course, makes his big comeback, and he hits all of his big moves. And then finally, Brock's going for that German, but Cody pulls the turnbuckle off in the middle of the move. Brock gets run into it. Cody hits the Cody cutters, or the crossroads. And granted, they weren't the best crossroads you've ever seen, but I'll tell y'all something. I was a gymnast for a long time, okay? A long time. And then I taught gymnastics for a long time. And I'm a pretty flexible guy. But I am now 48. I am only 2 years older than Brock Lesnar. And I can tell you for a fact, I don't bend like that no more. And Brock was never a gymnast. And Cody, in order to do the crossroads, needs to bend this giant dude backwards like he's going to do like a figure 8 type bridge.
And support his weight.
Yes, Brock never bent that way.
No.
He doesn't bend that way now. And he was also, 20 minutes into a match, and he was so sweaty and he was so tired. And, given all that, I mean, it worked out way better than it should have. And he hit his moves, and he pinned him, and it was not a fluke. It was not slip on a banana peel. It was he beat this guy clean in a match that he was getting killed in. And so, Brock Lesnar put him over afterwards, endorsed him. They played it up like, Cody's a made man now. And I thought this was fantastic. It was the best thing on the show, probably by a good margin, actually. Maybe second would be the Gunther and Drew McIntyre match. But it was pretty goddamn good, I would say.
The biggest thing that sets it apart is I've seen a lot of great Brock Lesnar matches in the past 5-10 years, whatever it's been, but they were sprints. Usually when he has longer matches, they're not very good. This was like his best long match since he's come back from UFC, so notable for that reason. The Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal. The only guys who get entrances are The Miz, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and then at the very end, Omos. We also have a History of Battle Royals video package featuring Macho Man and Gordon Solie and Stone Cold and Bam Bam Bigelow. I really like that. So, Omos is the last guy in. MVP says he can't start the match. My Giant's not there yet. And he comes out and throws out a bunch of dudes. a bunch of stuff happens. The Nigerian Giant, by the way, is such a better name than Omos. That should just be his full-time name. A lot of NXT guys toss each other out. Miz and Grayson Waller briefly teased being the most annoying team possible, but thankfully they were dumped right away. It comes down to a final four of LA Knight, Bronson Reed, AJ Styles, and Sheamus. And Knight quickly gets out the Giant Bronson Reed doing the Chris Benoit Big Show Royal Rumble finish. Cross had been thrown out of this match, and it's funny because when Cross has long hair now, and he's starting to look like the New Japan version of AJ Styles. And apparently, he's also feuding with AJ Styles, so that's appropriate. And he had been eliminated, but he came back to break up the phenomenal forearm, and AJ's out. It's down to LA Knight and Sheamus, and two very, very muscular, charismatic men who are not the best athletes in the company. And when they did the pop-up belly-to-belly superplex spot, I kind of screamed. I thought tragedy was going to happen, but
well, it's funny, Vinny. It's funny. I just watched SmackDown before this match. And on SmackDown, they did Sheamus versus LA Knight. And in that match, they're fighting up on the top rope, and LA Knight gets shoved off. And then he goes to run, and he's going to leap up onto the top rope, and he's going to grab Sheamus, and he's going to give him a superplex. And what happens is he runs, and he jumps up onto the top rope, and he does not make it all the way up, and he falls backwards. And then he climbs up onto the top rope to do the move, but now they slip the opposite way, and they both fall off the rope and tumble to the outside. And so the night before, they tried this very same spot, and they fucked it up in two different ways. And, I mean, you want to talk about balls? They had two shots on Friday night, and they fucked it up both times. And they decided, live in front of 50,000, legitimately 50,000 people in the building at Ford Field, after a long match, we are going to try this fucking thing again.
Yes. In what is going to be the biggest match of LA Knight's career. And they know this going in.
Yes. And believe it or not, they actually pulled it off.
Oh, there you go then. There you go. And very quickly then, LA clothesline Sheamus out to win. Huge pop. The crowd finally gets their guy to win a match. And I'm sure this is not the end for LA Knight, but it's a hell of a beginning. And
yes.
You know, Battle Royals, generally speaking, bad matches, but this is better than most, that's for sure. And the finish got the finish worked in the building, got the crowd favorite over, and a win all around.
Well, Vinny, this was exactly what we were talking about last month when he was in that Money in the Bank ladder match. And the people were super into the guy, but it was what I said then, and that is, this is not the old Money in the Bank where Otis gets it, and then they don't want Otis to be champion, and so they do some stupid storyline to get the briefcase off him. They have a storyline with Damian Priest and Finn Balor in the Judgment Day, and so that's why he won. There's no point in giving LA Knight the briefcase if he's not going to go on and win the world title. And he's not right now. So they didn't have him win Money in the Bank, but they did a big battle royal in front of 50,000 people, and he got his big win, and everybody went crazy. And now, you know, they can do whatever they're going to do with the guy, which, by the way, should be beating Austin Theory for that title, because Austin Theory is a useless champion, and LA Knight can win that title, and he can be over and everything like that. But the one thing I will say about this was, it was fine. You know, it wasn't great. And, you know, one thing that we do make fun of AEW for is how many battle royals they do. Like, Tony Khan is a guy who clearly was not a wrestler and was never in a battle royal because he absolutely loves battle royals. Yeah. Battle royals, they just generally suck. But I will say, you know, AEW, I would say 19 times out of 20 have really, really good, exciting, fun battle royals. And so I have been spoiled by that. And so I watched this generic WWE battle royal, and I was like, all right, you know, they did some stuff to play into this and play into that. You know, they got feuds going that they kind of set up here and continued here. But in general, it was just like, you know, it was fine. It was 2 3/4 star battle royal. What do you want out of it? But you're the guy everybody wanted to won. So there you go.
It was miles better than what followed. Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler in what they called an MMA rules match.
Yeah.
The only good thing about this, and I do mean the only good thing, is Shayna's gear, which My buddy Jim, an even bigger nerd than I am, points out that Shayna's gear is Warhammer inspired. And when she turned on Ronda, she was wearing the Sons of Horus themed gear. And here it is for the revenge match. Now it is the Black Legion gear, which is the final stage of the Sons of Horus. So there you go. Storytelling for nerds who like to play with war games with miniatures. This match fucking blew, and it's barely the fault of either Ronda or Shayna, because whoever put this thing together has clearly never actually seen an MMA fight. I made a mean-spirited trolling joke for UFC fans, saying if they wanted to be an MMA rules match fight, they should do 50 minutes of sloppy kickboxing and then go to a decision. That would have been so much better than what we actually got. So they're in there doing some low-level UWFI pancrase stuff. The crowd's not into it, but it's whatever. And Ronda gets a head kick and a knee bar, and the crowd, or Shayna did, but the crowd's just going restless. And suddenly, Ronda gets basically a shining wizard. And she gets a jumping knee to the head, and Shayna goes down. And the referee steps in and says, whoa, whoa, whoa. We got to check on her, make sure she's okay. Fucking what? What? This happened over and over again, where the referee would stop the fight to give the fighter a chance to continue, indicating again, whoever put this together has never actually seen a mixed martial arts fight. Finally, there's doctors in the ring. In the ring. Shayna's down on the ground, and these convincing doctors are checking her by asking such probing questions as, you okay? All right? Want to continue? Ronda takes out the doctors. There's a bunch of suplexes. The fight just keeps on going. Shayna attempts to win this MMA rules match with the ankle lock like Kurt Angle. And finally, Shayna chokes her out with the clutch. Dreadful. Deep negative stars. A terrible way to go out. Huge thumbs down. Hated.
Well, I could say a lot about this match. So, Ronda and Shayna are best friends. They've been best friends forever. And they wanted to do a big blow-off match at SummerSlam. And so, we went over all of the who, what, when, where, and why things happen when, and timing and everything like that. So here was their big chance, and it gets advertised as an MMA match. And I don't know who came up with the idea for an MMA match, but I can tell you that, in the week or two leading up to this, it was there was so much discussion about what are we going to do with this MMA match? WWE... they're just, they're whatever. And Ronda and Shayna, they had ideas, and Creative had ideas, and it was just all right, well, at the end of the day, this is what they came up with. An MMA match where the only way to win is by submission or KO. And then, as you noted, somebody gets kicked and the referee stops the action, which never happens in an MMA match. And the crowd is bored. The crowd's quiet enough that you can hear one guy yelling boring. And the biggest issue is this is a WWE show in front of a WWE crowd. So you have two choices. You either need to do a WWE-style match, or if you are going to do an MMA-style match, it needs to be a total MMA-style match where, you don't necessarily have to do it in a cage. You can do it like Pancras, but have a referee that understands MMA, let them go in, do an MMA match, and a submission or TKO is the finish. Instead, they had to half-ass it. They had to make it a sports entertainment MMA match. And so what happened was the fans that are WWE wrestling fans, they didn't like it. They thought it sucked. They thought it was boring. And if you happen to be an MMA fan, you watched it and you went, this is not an MMA match. This is bullshit. This stuff doesn't happen in MMA. And so really, you pleased nobody. You did a match that nobody could appreciate. The wrestlers involved probably didn't appreciate it.
Oh,
the WWE fans didn't appreciate it. The MMA fans didn't appreciate it. Everybody thought it sucked. And then this was their big chance. They had to do a stupid match. I'm not saying you'll never see Ronda Rousey again, but this was her swan song. And my guess is that they're going to probably try to have another baby. and she may never wrestle another match again. And if she does, it's probably not going to be for quite a while. This may have been the end of Ronda Rousey's career, and this was the match that they had to have. And it was like, I just watched, I actually felt so bad for them because they had something that they dreamed of doing forever, and it turned into this wacky, goofy, shitty nightmare. Yeah. And I don't blame them one bit. Not their fault.
They did what they could with what they were told to do. By the way, one more note of the opener. I forgot to mention this, and this says a lot about an amazing person with amazing resources and an amazingly long SummerSlam show. Logan Paul worked the opener in Detroit in SummerSlam. Before SummerSlam was over, he was in Dallas, Texas, to be in his brother's corner for a boxing match. Still wearing his gear.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because the show went fucking 16 hours.
It's not like they're neighbors, dude. This is not Seattle to Portland. It's a long way to go. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. So the crowd was absolutely dead when this started because they've seen that atrocity of the Rousey-Shayna match. And the best way I can describe this match, and hear me out, let me finish before you get too angry and snap at me. The best way I can describe this is it was a poor imitation of the WrestleMania match they had with Sheamus. Now, that sounds like an insult, but I need you to remember the WrestleMania match they had with Sheamus was the apex of Homo sapiens as a species. So a poor imitation of that is still a very good wrestling match. There was no point here where I thought it was the most amazing match I ever saw or something that would never be duplicated again. It was two big mean guys clobbering each other, and I loved it. But if you're only going to watch one of those two matches, watch the Mania match. It was very simple and basic. I also saw as the, I think it's a Puro Resu, I'm butchering that pronunciation. Their clips or highlights or Twitter account pointed out Gunther is basically the modern incarnation of Jumbo Tsuruta. And once you see that and think about it, you can't unsee it. They're like the same thing, except Gunther throws more chops. But they wail on each other a while, lots of chopping, lots of taunting. There was a great moment here where they're having a chop fest, and Drew ducks one and finally hits the Claymore kick, which he tried several times and missed throughout the match. He hits the Claymore, and Corey Graves on commentary screams, "Oh no!" I laughed so hard at that. Gunther kicked out. The crowd was totally into this. This was awesome at this point. And there's further pummeling until finally Drew is crotched. And Gunther just hits his big, ugly splash and a big, huge lariat and a very simple powerbomb and wins. He's still Intercontinental Champion. And now he has 1 month to go. 1 month to break the Honky Tonk Man's record.
You know, I mean, I know he's going to break the Honky Tonk Man's record. And I know these records are all stupid and everything like that. And the Honky Tonk Man is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time was like, you know, it was a gimmick. It was never meant to be. It was just something that happened. But man, there is that part of me that thinks there's nothing sacred. The Honky Tonk Man's record is going to be broken. Like, that's just not right. But whatever. This match, I thought, was really, really good. It was not as good as WrestleMania. Part of that was the crowd. You know, they did not get into this nearly as much as they got into the WrestleMania match. They got into the WrestleMania match because it was one of the greatest matches of all time. This, you know, they got a "This is awesome" chant about probably about 2 minutes before the finish.
Yeah.
But, you know, up until then, it was like they were working so hard, and it's like, can they get this crowd? Can they get this crowd? And then they finally did, but it was at the very end. And I thought the work was great. I thought that, you know, clearly Drew is not re-signed with WWE. I mean, I don't. As long as he is not re-signed, I don't anticipate them putting any championships on him or anything like that. But, you know, I thought for what it was and the time they had and the crowd, I thought it was quite great, actually. But, you know, still not as good as that Brock Lesnar Cody Rhodes match. I think that match was better.
I agree with that.
But it was very good.
Two more honky-related notes before we move on here. I love the idea that the guy who was apparently about to break his record could not be any more different as a pro wrestler. The polar opposite.
Yes.
The Phantom Zone edition of the Honky Tonk Man is Gunther. But then, the record's not broken yet, and Sheamus took to the Twitters, says, "Only I can save HTM." Hashtag save HTM. So suddenly, Sheamus is the world's greatest Honky Tonk Man fan and must preserve this record by defeating the undefeatable Gunther.
Should have been fucking Elias, a fellow musician.
That would have worked. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. The 7-year rematch of their SummerSlam main event where Finn won the Universal title but then had to give it up due to injury. And Seth comes out wearing the same vest he was wearing in that match to taunt Mr. Balor.
What a dick.
He really is. The crowd likes him. Maybe because they like singing his song. They were more into singing his song than anything else in this match for the first half of it anyway. But when you watch him, he really is kind of an asshole still. Finn's targeting the arm, and he hits the powerbomb into the corner of the barricade. And I thought, oh, man, that's a great moment. That's a great moment for the Heat. Great spot there. And before you knew it, Seth took the move that robbed Finn of his greatest victory and put him on the shelf for a long time. He's never been that level of a star since. And I don't know, 40 seconds later, he's hitting buckle bombs and a big splash getting near falls in the ring. So little time had passed that by the time they showed the replay of the powerbomb into the corner of the barricade that ruined Finn's shoulder, Seth was already making his comeback. Like, well, you ruined the chance of that one there. But regardless, they kept going. They were working their asses off. And it's one of those matches that the physicality increases constantly, the theatrics increase constantly, and so for a while you're like, this is good, and like the 10-minute mark, you're like, okay, this is really, really good. And by 15 minutes, you're going, holy crap, this is great. And then they did the big ending that plays into a little bit of everything. So Damian Priest is out there, and Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, they're all out there. They're all clearly shit's about to go down. And Damian punches Seth. Finn hits a pedigree. That gets 2. They try to interfere with the briefcase, but Finn apparently thinks that Damian is cashing in. And Finn says, no, we're not doing this. We're sticking to plan A. He rejects the briefcase. So Damian's perturbed. They do some stuff, and Finn comes back. He hits the coup de grace. And I mean, he stuck this guy. He kicked him really, really hard in the stomach. But Seth kicks out. Now Finn is panicking. Now he is desperate for plan B. He wants Damian to cash in. Damian looks still irritated. Instead of cashing in, he throws the briefcase into the ring and takes the ref. So Finn goes to pick up the briefcase, but in the process, sets himself up. Seth curb stomps him onto the briefcase, gets the win. And Damian is just disappointed by this whole thing went down. Finn failed him. Is how Damian feels. I thought this was incredible. This, if Cody and Brock was not the best thing on the show, then this was.
Yes, I thought this match was quite great. I thought that Finn Balor should win the title because I thought that Finn Balor is champion, Damian Priest with the briefcase, yes. Same faction, best friends. I thought it writes itself. But I will say that if you're not going to do that, this was like a perfect finish because the story, if you've been watching the shows, is that obviously Finn Balor is absolutely obsessed with trying to get revenge on Seth Rollins. And, you know, for weeks now, he's obsessed with it. Like Damian Priest is telling him, dude, you're obsessed. Seth Rollins is telling him, dude, you got to get over this. Like, you know, you're blinded by this. And he is so blinded by his rage that when Damian Priest attempts to help him, at first he is so fucking blinded that he won't even accept the help. He's too stupid. So then, you know, he hits all of his big moves. He hits a drop kick in the corner. He hits a sling blade. He hits that coup de grace. The place is fucking going crazy because they think there's going to be a title change. They're on their feet. They're screaming. Seth Rollins kicks out. Well, now this guy is so blinded by his rage again that he's like, Priest, get that fucking briefcase here into the ring. And, you know, Priest is like, God damn it, this guy's an idiot, but fuck. So he throws the briefcase in, he goes to take the ref, and as Finn is bending down to get the briefcase, he gets curb stomped right onto the briefcase, and he gets pinned. His blind rage cost him a match that he should have won. And it furthers the storyline with him and Priest and the briefcase. And, you know, he's still going to be obsessed with Seth and the title. So I thought that it was like, if you're not going to put the title on him, it was a perfect finish. And I thought the work was great. They totally got the crowd there at the end. This was really, really, really good.
Charlotte versus Bianca Belair versus Asuka. All right. The good news is the hype video for this is out of this world. It's three very distinctive personalities colliding here, clashing for the world championship. You were totally into these characters. You were totally in this pursuit. You were totally in this prize. It all meant something. And then they're doing the entrances, which are all really cool. In particular, Asuka has one of those demon masks on, and she's kind of in the aisle and just waving and dancing and being Asuka. And then she looks at the camera and she charges. And I may have screamed out loud in abject terror. Sadly, they then did a match. And it was poor. From the get-go, no two of them are on the same page. Nothing looks good. There's no flow to it. There's no logic. There's no plot. There's no story. Nothing looks good. Charlotte does the moonsault off the top of the floor. She was supposed to miss Asuka. She actually missed both of them, but Bianca took a bump anyway. And then they get back to the ring, and Bianca tries a DDT off the top rope on Charlotte. It looks horrible, and I mean horrible. But they showed a replay, because I guess they figured we got to show a replay of something. So we'll show a replay of this. And then it just gets worse. They keep going, and they keep going. Bianca is thrown outside. She goes to the stairs. She screams and cries. They're playing it up like it's a legit injury. The match is continuing. And they start helping Bianca limp to the back as the match continues. A few minutes later, Charlotte goes to the figure eight on Asuka. WWE's crack medical team is unable to restrain a one-legged woman who overpowers them to crawl back to the ring, go to the top rope, and do a 450, further damaging her own knee. That was stupid. Now, the good news is the last 60 seconds and the post-match were very effective, very crowd loved it all. There's an ultra convoluted three-way spot. Bianca gets the figure eight on, Charlotte gets the figure eight on Bianca. Asuka mists Charlotte, so Charlotte's blind. Then Asuka goes for Bianca, but Bianca, while still in the figure eight, cradles Charlotte and cradles Asuka and gets the win. I'm fucking everything up. Huge ovation for the finish, but as I wrote here, this is mostly long, sloppy, boring, and dumb. And then Io Sky ran in. Crowd's very excited. She's got Bayley with her. Bayley's clonking everyone with a briefcase. Io Sky's bonking everyone with a briefcase. Io cashes in, goes to the top rope. The bell rings. She hits a moonsault and wins. Crowd goes nuts. So, in the end, all anyone's going to remember is Bianca winning and then Io Sky winning and being excited, even more exciting. But the road to get there was no fun.
Well, I will say this. I liked a little more of this than you. But I cannot disagree in the slightest. The first 3 quarters of this match, it pretty much sucked. I think that might be mildly harsh, but here's the thing. We've seen a million WWE three-ways, and the way they're usually structured is you do a short bit of three-way stuff, and then someone gets sent outside, 2 people work a match, one of them gets outside, the other 2 work a match, and you're largely just doing a series of singles matches. And then you do a couple of three-way spots at the end, you do your finish or whatever. This one, let's say the match went 20 minutes. 15 straight minutes of three-way spots. And three-way spots always look a little more contrived. And I'm just watching this three-way spot, this three-way spot, this three-way spot. And I'm thinking, you know what? Any 2 of these women having a singles match would be miles better. So finally, out goes Bianca, and she injures her knee. And I am a huge fan of Bianca Belair. But as soon as they got her out of this match, the match immediately got better because it turned into a one-on-one match. And it was way more focused. So then she fights her way back, and man, when she fought her way back, we had gone from just like a series of three-way spots to there was a story all of a sudden. Bianca's got an injured knee that fans thought was real, and then she fights her way back to the ring, and she's going to not let this happen. And so the fans got into it. And so the last 5 minutes when Bianca returned and they're doing the spots and setting up the finish, I thought that was very good. So finally they do the finish. Bianca wins. And then, the whole thing is that Bianca knee injury was what set up the cash-in, which is what everybody wanted. So it was a very important part of this whole package. And so Io runs down, her and Bayley take out everyone with the briefcase. And then, of course, Io takes out the bad knee of Bianca which was a spot from the match. And she goes up top, she hits her moonsault, she wins, she gets the title, everybody's happy. In the end, I would say that it worked out great. But I was not a big fan at all of the first 3 quarters of that match. It was just too much three-way stuff, too convoluted. It didn't all look good. It's just too contrived. I don't like three-way matches like that. It's too much for me.
We now arrived at the main event, and by my count, in the real world, in real time, 59 minutes passed between the end of the between Io Sky cashing in and the finish of the main event. Now that 59 minutes includes all the entrances, it includes the women leaving the ring and all the entrances and stuff. But that tells you just how long this freaking main event spectacle, as a spectacle, was. The actual match probably went about 40 minutes, but
35 minutes exactly.
Okay, so there was just a long ass time, and Jay comes out. Crowd loves Jay. There is a shot of Jay on the top rope doing this with the crowd doing it back to him. That is unbelievable. And as noted, it's going to be in Jay's Hall of Fame video someday. And then they started doing their match, and it was a 15-minute match stretched out over 35 minutes. And I will once again give credit to somebody else on Twitter. Trevor Dames pointed out every WWE main event, 80% of it is smoldering stares. They're just looking at each other and looking at each other. And they'll do a move, and they'll look at each other and look at each other. And they'll do a move, and they'll look at each other and look at each other. And it's Paul Heyman screaming, "Have you no mercy? He loves you." But they're not actually doing anything to be merciful about. Pacing wise, it'd be like watching Hogan Andre at Mania 3 times in a row. Just takes that long to get there. Obviously, the execution's a fuck ton better, but it's that much nothing going on. By the time Solo Sikoa zooms out of nowhere to interfere in the crowd, this show is legitimately 4+ hours old. We were all very tired. The fans are tired. I should point out we're 30 minutes into this at this point, and it was not 30 hot minutes. It was maybe 5 hot minutes and 25 low mumble minutes. And they're slowly dragging Jay back to the ring. He's clearly helping them drag him. Finally, they give up on that. They just carry him out there. They try to double team him, but Jay pulls Solo in the way of the spear and hits a spear on Roman for 2. He's destroying both dudes with a chair for a while. And they're on the floor. Solo, Jay calls the spot. He lifts the chair. You can hear him shout, "Now!" And Solo kicks him in the face. And then Solo starts just screaming curse words at the top of his lungs. I couldn't figure out why. Apparently he's mad that Roman had speared him and the double team gone wrong, but they did not outright fight or anything. Jay spears Roman through the barricade. Solo tries to attack Jay, but Jay smashes him through the table. And Jay goes to splash in the ring, tries to win. He is pulled outside by a masked man. It's his twin brother, Jimmy Uso. Crowd is outraged. And it also begs the question, if you're going to interfere in a championship match, why would you wait an hour to do it? Why not interfere in the first 5 minutes? Roman is confused by this, but he recovers. He spears Jay through a table. He wins. The line just won't die.
So here's the problem with this match. I kind of went over a little bit earlier, but when they did Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, I would guess that the majority of fans, maybe not all of them, but the majority, thought that Cody was going to win. When they did Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns in Montreal, I think there were a fair number of fans that thought that Sami Zayn was going to win. When they did Roman Reigns and Solo versus the Usos, I think most fans, maybe not all, figured that they were going to see the Usos win and maybe finally get to see Jay pin Roman Reigns. So in every single one of those matches, you had an engaged crowd that thought that they were going to see something historic. And when you have that, you can work a match a certain way. You can take your time, you can start building up to the big stuff at the end and whip them into a frenzy. This match here, did any human being living think that Jay Uso was going to beat Roman Reigns? Nobody did. Not one single person. So you can't do the match you did with Sami Zayn. You can't do the match you did with Cody Rhodes. You can't do the match you did with the Usos against Roman and Solo. You can't do that because nobody thinks the challenger is going to win. And for 20 fucking minutes, Roman's beating this guy's ass. And Michael Cole, the announcer, is like, man, Jay's got to do something. He's just been dominated the entire time. Jay's getting killed here by Roman Reigns. I'm like, no shit, dude. He's getting fucking killed by this guy that's going to beat him in the end. Like, Jay needed to come out, and it just needed to be boom, boom, boom from the opening bell. Just this guy going crazy and just running this guy ragged. No downtime. It had to be a totally different kind of match. And instead, they did the same slow, plodding 35 minutes of Roman beating on him for 75% of the match. The crowd's dead. I mean, this was just, it didn't work at all. And then, they do the stuff at the end. And, once Solo showed up, it's like, okay, so Solo's going to show up and is going to make you think that Jay has a better chance of winning? No, you think he has a worse chance of winning. And then, he finally takes out, Jimmy or whatever. And then the guy pulls him out. It was just like, yeah, they told a story. Maybe people are really into it. We'll find out on SmackDown. But, I mean, it was too goddamn fucking long. And it just went on and on and on. Not one fan for 1 second believed that Jay Uso was going to beat Roman Reigns. Not for 1 second. Even in the Finn Balor-Seth Rollins match, Finn had that big comeback and he had that double foot stomp, and you could see the entire building on their feet thinking there was going to be a title change.
Yep.
That didn't happen a single time in this match. They did not work it in any way to make you believe that Jay Uso was going to win, and you didn't think he was going to win going in, and it was 35 minutes. Brutal. Now,
at the end of a 4+ hour show.
Yeah. It was way, way too long on a show that was way, way too long. And it's too bad, too, because I was loving this show, really. But, the first 3/4 of the women's match, the semi-main, and then the first, 25, 30 minutes of the main event, and then, all the time between the semi-main event and the main event again, it's like, it killed me, dude. It did not leave me when the show was over thinking, my God, what a great show I saw. It was like, I can't believe I made it through that show. Like, I can't believe I made it. It was like fucking running a marathon. So anyway.
So I do want to say before we go, the ending angle could be the end of, statistically at least, the preeminent team in the history of this entire promotion. And I say that dead serious. These guys have been a team. Their first match as a team per cage match, December of 2008 for NWA Primetime. Their first WWE match, this isn't even counting FCW, June 2010 against the Hart Dynasty. That's how long they've been around. I can't find the list now. I found a list that had them as the most tag team matches in the company history. I'm sure that's true. As far as I can tell, the only teams that have been champions for longer were the New Day and Demolition, both of which had 3 guys instead of 2. So this is a big deal, man. The Usos are a big part of the history of this promotion, and for the time being, at least, they are no more.
Well, I'm sure someday they're going to get back together again.
I suspect they'll mend their fences and get the Hall of Fame induction.
But in the meantime, we got Jimmy versus Jay. We're going to build to Roman versus Solo, and we got to drag it out till we can do that Cody Rhodes rematch and title win at WrestleMania coming up this year, which I'm pretty sure is, I think now the obvious direction after what happened with Brock.
Yeah.
But we got a long time to get there, so I hope it works out better than this one. And you know what? This was a miss, but they've been mostly hits. So, one miss is not the end of the world. It's not like this thing is all of a sudden going to collapse. But I hope that whatever is coming next, I hope is better than this one, because this to me was a lesson you should learn from this Roman Reigns 35-minute match with Jay Uso. But anyway, we got to wrap it up.